Yo. Hey. Hello. Wanishi wado for coming. Wanishi for who you are and what you represent in life and past. No matter what you do in life, do it with strength, identity, unity, and compassion. That's what makes everything the circle of life. And in that circle of life, we are all related. And I'd like to ask you now to call in the ancestors. So, if you can call your ancestors in here to be with you, then we'll even have a bigger audience. This is a Cherokee calling in the ancestors. In Native America, before Europeans came, the Two-Spirited were the medicine people. They could handle and understand the male, and they could handle and understand the female. They were revered. They were medicine. They weren't shunned. They were put up on pedestals where need to be. Then, as time went on, and prejudice became even more, even tribes became separated. But I stand before you to represent my tribes and my strength for all of you. Ahoy! Ahoy! I'm pretty loud in my voice. This is called White Sky. Oh! See us on Facebook. Wayne Walker, NASW, Multicultural Women. This is my daughter, Anakis, means Bright Star. My sister Karen Stewart, who is a senior chief, retired, 26 years. And of course, the famous and wonderful Lisa Cole. Woo! Woo! Dear sister. How would you like to be invited into this? Okay, so Native Americans, in ours, we didn't have horses, we had canoes. We thought horses were large dogs, we were actually afraid of them. So a lot of rowing songs came. So if we're rowing and we have the first two canoes that has all the food and all the gifts for the next village, and the medicine people, right? Okay, so you're behind us. I can't turn around like in a car with a rearview mirror and see, make sure you're back there because I'll take the canoe. So I need a callback. So yours would be a callback. So I know you're behind us because river is noisy, you know. So, and it's beautiful. So it'd be, I'll go, way, yours is way, oh, hey, way, oh, hey, that's it. Way, oh, hey, way, oh, hey, I'll say humba dimada. You'll say humba hashta. Humba hashta. Like humba hashta. Hashta. Okay. I am here. We are good. Alright, so I'm doing an intro. I'll point to you. So diagrams, everyone. spill my water first. I would like to give you something besides the drum and the heartbeat of all people. That's what this represents, circle of life and the heartbeat of everything that's alive. And by you joining, you have livened your own heart, the Earth Mother, and everything and everyone around you, because everyone heard your voice through your heart. So because of that, I'd like to thank all of you for who you are, again. And I want you to think of one happy thought, just one, that's made you who you are today. I'm going to take my flute, and I'm going to point it towards you, although I have a hard time getting through the airport. And they say, they also have a place in New Mexico, they used to say in the novel, they say, you're not a champion, you're American. So with this thought, I'm going to point it towards you, and then I'm going to inhale your thought, and then play your song, your original song. Okay? Can't do it without a great sound. We need a microphone for my young one.
There's one right behind that.
We do have CDs for sale, and all our proceeds go to a lot of education, veterans, and we call the earthwalkers. Do not call them homeless. I was actually told that by an earthwalker. I was corrected. And I thought, so, yes, touche. Because we all are earthwalkers who decide where we want to live. And I thought that was really educational. I changed my own song for you today. Yeah, go for it. Not with glasses. Check that out. But I'm going to do the beginning. It's called Segregated, because I actually wrote it about being different. And Native American, and everyone thinks we all have dark skin, monkey noses, we all go, ooh. And that's okay too, because it's not about that. And so I wrote it, then I wrote something today on the way here for you, on this, in the last verse. I haven't played guitar, I actually cut my nails for you today. So, only one. But anyhow, and this, my daughter is going to sing the song. We wrote this together on top of a mountain in New Mexico.
Doesn't matter the color of my skin to prove I'm Native American. Do I have to wear a feather in my hair to prove I'm Native American? Yeah. Native American. You see we're related. We are related. But we're so segregated. So segregated. We are related. We are related. We're so segregated. So segregated. To my eyes have to be the color of a buffalo, or do I have to see in our TV, deep in the snow, to be a Native American? You see, we're related. We are related. So segregated. Do I have to shoot arrows in the air? Or wear my gender everywhere, and hide it everywhere to be a LGBTQ. Try again. Do I have to shoot bubbles in the air. Oh, wear my gender, hide my gender everywhere. To be a warrior. To be a
LGBTQ.
To be a
LGBTQ.
to see where we're related.
We are related.
But we're still so segregated.
So segregated.
We are related.
We are related.
But we're still so segregated.
So segregated.
So segregated. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets' bright glare, their bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, send us that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Forward, march.
You may be seated. A round of applause for Woodwalker, the FCW, and our wonderful lady Salazar. Reverend Brooks Mason for the invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty and loving God, as we gather here today, it is with thanksgiving for our abundant blessings, for sustenance and for friendship, for the opportunities to fulfill our callings, to be involved in useful work, and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. We're grateful for all who guard the peace, maintain our freedom. And for all those who are advocates, activists, supporters, and sponsors, guided by your good spirit, may we put down the arrogance and hatred which infect our hearts, that all people may be led into the way of truth, and in unity of spirit, always lift up the dignity of every human being. We recognize and cherish the gracious gift of loving one another as we are created. May we also honorably embrace the freedom we've received from those who have gone before us, entrusting us to promote equal justice for the welfare and true needs of our LGBTQ community and all people everywhere. Let us now celebrate what is virtuous, work together to maintain the common good, and be joyous and honest in the tasks ahead of us, to the glory and honor of God.
Happy Pride, everybody. I am so proud to be here and to be honored to be here to celebrate the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, and allied community on this space. Thank you so very much. It's important that we do this. It's important to share stories of diversity so that we open hearts and minds and we discuss our community service and our service to our country, our nation. There is actually a pride flag that's called the Patriotic Pride Flag, and it is for members of this community. It is for people that have served, whether in civil service, whether has service members in the military. I am both. I have served, I am a veteran. I have also worked as a contractor, and they count as well. They have also given to their nation. And I am a civil servant, and I am just typical of what we have involved in the Department of Defense. Many very dedicated, patriotic people who want nothing more than to serve their nation with honor, commitment, and courage. And so we stand here today, and we celebrate during the June Federal Pride Month, this community. And I want to thank our folks at Naval Air Systems Headquarters, who have made all this possible by allowing us to become part of their diversity group. It took years, but we are here now, and we're very pleased. The Naval Sea Systems Command has done the same, and today here, it's considered a purple pride. What purple means is it's more than one service is represented. We have the Navy, and with the Navy always comes the Marine Corps, but we also have the Defense Logistics Agency, San Diego, making this purple. And so we are very pleased with that. And with that, I would like to have come to the stage our military sponsors, if they are here. Captain Jaramillo, Executive Officer for the Fleet Readiness Center, Southwest. Commander Takikawa, Director of NATEC. And Commander Brickhouse, Commanding Officer of the Defense Logistics Agency. And by the way, folks, I am here to recruit you. We need more people on this team to work on this and other future events.
This is the way it usually is in the Navy. I'm always anxious to volunteer. I just want to first say thanks for everyone taking time out today to be here. Today we celebrate Pride, but Pride is not just one day, it's every day that we should be internalizing what we're celebrating today. Thanks for the special guests that are here, our local government personnel, my fellow military colleagues, civil servants. Thank you so much for being here today. I also want a special thanks to Lisa, to Nikki, and all the other volunteers who have put this really impressive event together. And thanks for the Windwalkers and the Multicultural Women. What an impressive performance. Very moving. So thank you. On behalf of Defense Logistics Agency, we're very glad to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, man. It's hard to follow that. First, thanks to the FRC Southwest diversity team, Lisa Cove, DLA, Nikki Self-Loveland. You guys have done an absolutely outstanding job putting this together. Forget my speech. It's got verses in, so it sounds like I'm drunk. It's hard for me to talk. I grab this metal thing with the roof of my mouth. Anyway, I greatly appreciate everyone being here. Got a great mix of civilian, military, representatives from all three commands. Thanks for all your support in this very unique diversity event. Great performance by the Windwalkers. I think that was my first time seeing that. Very impressive. Again, appreciate everyone's support. This is a very important, unique diversity event. And thanks again for coming out. And we look forward to the rest of the event. Thank you.
I would like our team to come to the stage. Miss Mickey Selflin, Sarah Heiss, and the Mikes. Mike Shank, Mike Furlano, come on up. We are small but mighty. Sarah Heiss is the diversity lead for the FRC Southwest and for NATEC. And Nikki Self-Loveland is a diversity expert, and she works in doing She is actually the lead in training the entire Defense Logistics Agency for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community. She is a brave woman. And she goes to a lot of places. And Mike Shank is awesome. He is my go-to guy. We need something done, he figures it out. And Mike Furlano, also awesome. He is our public affairs officer, and without these folks, we don't get this done. So I want to thank each and every one of them. And Nikki is my co-chair, and that is one of the reasons this is a purple event. And it's important to be as inclusive as possible everywhere. In the meantime, I would like to bring to the stage our Mistress of Ceremonies, a good friend, Kristy Salazar. We work together out in the LGBT community often, and she is a star performer. She is amazing. She is a radio talk host. She is a journalist. She is a star reporter for Equality News Network. And she does red carpets like nobody does red carpets. And so with that, would you please come up, Kristy?
Let's try that again. Good morning, how's everyone doing today?
Good morning.
I am so excited to be here. I was privileged and honored to be able to be at the first historical Pride that we did on base, and to ask to come back again. I'm beyond humbled. When I think of what this event means to so many of us, I can't help but get goosebumps as well as butterflies in my stomach. Because you see, this month we celebrate Pride, but Pride is every day. Pride is who we are as individuals. It's about our journeys. It's about the ups, the downs, the sides that people never see. That's what Pride is. When we get up in the morning, it's not about how we identify, who we love, what our orientation is. It's about who we are as humans, what our makeup is, what our characteristics are, what our qualities are. That's what Pride is. That's what we put on every single day, no matter who we love. And the more that the world begins to understand the word of pride, the more we can start to see quality, the more we can start to see change. Because when we understand that pride is not just based on one thing, that's what changes things. So I feel so honored to be here today, because when I think of You know, in my coming out process and in this life journey, there's been so many things that I've seen as obstacles. But what we need to understand that what is obstacles and discrimination are actually setups to have the biggest voice ever. And I'm so humbled to be here with a panel of guests who have been through so many things in their journey. But it's to show one thing, that we are not our discrimination, we are not our obstacles. Those are tools for the journey. Those are tools to get us to the next level. And I think that once we begin to realize that, we will shine so bright. I know personally the things that I've been able to accomplish have never, ever been anything I could imagine. And it's because I live my truth. It's because I'm authentic and I own all of me. And I thank you guys for being here today. I thank you for being here, for taking this moment out of your day, whether you identify as LGBTQ or questioning, whether you are an ally, whatever it is that you took your moment to be here today, it means the world to me today. It means the world to be able to share this moment with you. And I hope that you guys would really open your ears to what you hear today, because these are people's stories, these are people's experiences. And the more that the world hears this, the more that people take time out of the day to be part of Pride celebrations, the more we can make change. If people would have told me that I would have a radio show and that I would be able to be the voice of a lot of people and I'd get to travel and do things I never imagined, I wouldn't believe them. But it starts with being true to yourself first. So when I sit here and I say I celebrate Pride in myself, I celebrate Pride in all of you, and today we're going to celebrate Pride in a lot of them. So thank you so, so much. With that, I want to introduce an amazing group of speakers today. First and foremost, I want to bring up to the stage Nicole Murray-Ramirez. I have had the privilege of being around Nicole many, many times on red carpets, at community events. And when I tell you that I have so much love for this person, being an activist for over 45 years, I consider that a role model. I consider that someone who smiles, always looks fierce, and always addresses me with so much love. So with that said, Nicole, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. It is my honor to be here today celebrating GLBT Pride at the Naval Air Station North Island. As I said so often, I feel that God has blessed me to have witnessed and been involved with the empowerment and visibility of the two communities that I love, the Latino and GLBT communities. I've been an activist for social justice and equality now for almost half a century. I come from a time, the 1960s and 70s, when at a stroke of a pen, your parents or a judge could have you committed to a mental hospital for being homosexual, where many were subjected to electric shock treatment and lobotomies. It wasn't until 1976 that homosexuality was legalized in California. Yes, the GLBT community and our struggle for equality has come a long way, but we are still indeed the last civil rights movement of the 21st century. And contrary to what many people think, every survey and study results in the same conclusion. Even though the GLBT community has faced decades of discrimination from not only our government but churches, we remain some of the most patriotic and spiritual Americans in this great nation of ours. And we have been serving and defending our country since the Revolutionary War. In fact, one of the heroes of the Revolutionary War was Frederick von Steenbeck, a military leader who was a friend of Benjamin Franklin's. He was at Valley Forge in 1778, and he's responsible for training the new American Army in military tactics. President George Washington, everyone knew Frederick was a homosexual, but he was considered a war hero for his outstanding leadership and service to our country. In fact, Van Steuben wrote the Revolutionary War Drill Manual, which was used in the United States Army until the War of 1812. To this day, in Washington, D.C., stands a memorial dedicated to Van Steuben, who never hid the fact that he was a gay man. Yes, gay men and lesbians have served our nation since the Revolutionary War, and many have died serving our great nation. Two of our greatest gay civil rights leaders were proud veterans. In 1961, Jose Julio Sierra, the first gay American to run for public office, he was a proud World War II veteran. I have a picture of him. He died at the nice age of 91. I should say the young age. I don't think there's a nice age to die. Gay icon Harvey Milk proudly served in the U.S. Navy and was in fact stationed for a while right here in San Diego. I worked with Harvey Milk against the homophobic campaigns of Anita Bryant and John Briggs. And I am proud to have led the successful national campaigns to get the U.S. Postal Department to issue a stamp in honor of Harvey Milk, and our successful letter writing campaign to get a naval vessel named after Harvey Milk. Last year, I and a San Diego delegation led by Mayor Kevin Faulkner attended the official ceremony announcing the naming of the USNS Harvey Milk, to be built and dedicated right here in San Diego. Today I'm wearing a Navy cap given to me by the Secretary of the Navy. Many have asked me why I'm so pro-military and veterans. I am proud to say that I come from a military family. My father was a World War II veteran, was a leader in the American GI Forum, the first national Latino organization in this nation. But most importantly, I believe every American should be pro-military and pro-veterans. Yes, San Diego's GLBT community has benefited greatly from veterans in their civil rights leadership. In fact, one of San Diego's co-founders of not only our Pride Parade, but of our GLBT Community Center and Lambda Archives was a proud Vietnam veteran, Jess Jessup. Our San Diego community has benefited greatly from the historic leadership of Bridget Wilson, Ben Dillingham, Jerry Gilno, Dr. Brad Truax, all veterans. In fact, the truth is that San Diego's GLBT community was built greatly by the leadership of veterans. I am proud to have led the efforts to establish one of the first walls of honor, honoring our veterans in the nation. The Ben F. Dillingham and Bridget Wilson Veterans Wall of Honor, located in our community center in Hillcrest. To have gotten the first gay San Diegans appointed to the San Diego County Veterans Board. That being veterans Bob Lehman and Ben Dillingham. We must do more for our veterans, and I find the treatment of many of our veterans unacceptable. We can and we must do better. In closing, my message to you all is, after your service, Get involved in your community and its continuing civil rights movement. We need your leadership and your activism. Your community needs you. And always, always be proud of your service to this great nation, as we are proud of you. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Nicole. So at this time, we're going to call up our panelist of guests. We have First Chief Petty Officer Eli Jacobs, retired U.S. Navy veteran, served 20 years. Welcome, Eli Jacobs.
How's everybody doing today?
It's been a long time. I retired in 2003. It's kind of crazy how you have to get up here and talk about pride when you're just kind of really just talking about yourself. You know, it's kind of scary, but I'm going to give my best shot. I'm a retired Navy chief. I'm a trans man. I'm a mom. I'm a lot of things. Like everyone in here, I have a lot of labels. I came from a small town in Essexville, Michigan. I was born and raised Catholic. Went to Catholic school through 8th grade, and they closed our public school down, so I went to public school. My grandmother played the organ in our church for 30 years, so we were pretty staunch Catholic. I went to a family reunion and my cousin joined the Navy, so I was like, oh, I think I want to do that. So I skipped out of college after a year and I went over to the recruiter's office not knowing anything what I was doing, and I signed up for a designated 6-month delayed entry. I was non-designated E1. I mean, who does that? Anyway, I was 23. Anyway, my first duty station was over in Sigonella, Sicily. I didn't know how to meet anyone, so I joined the softball team because that's what I did. I played a lot of sports. and within the year, 4 of the girls I played softball were kicked out of the Navy for being lesbian. And that really affected me. I identify as bisexual, but that really affected me. So I transferred there to Jacksonville, Florida, and I had a couple guys working for me that were TARs. And I don't know if you guys know what TAR is, but it's an acronym for Training and Administration in the Reserves. And I decided, like, I want to do that. So I put a chit in and I went TAR. So I spent the last 16 years in the TAR Navy. P3s, C-130s, a little bit of a C9, some station duty. My last duty station was VFC 13. It's the adversary to Top Gun, F5, over in Fallon, Nevada, contract maintenance. It was a plush job, not gonna lie. And during the course of my time, the first 9+ years in the Navy that I did in 82 to early 90s was, if you got caught, you're out. The last 9 or 10 years was under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So somewhere in the late 80s, I met my husband, my ex-husband now, and we got married. We were together for 25 years. I birthed 2 children, and I have a third one from his previous marriage. So my oldest daughter is 33. She is a dental hygienist for the Army. Her husband's Army, so they just transferred to upstate New York. And then my 2 daughters that I birthed, Maddie is 26 now, and she is a 4th-year grad student at the University of Utah. She is, her undergraduate degree was in molecular biology and a minor in math. She was also our high school's valedictorian. So she's a fourth year at the University of Utah. She works at the Huntsman Institute. She works on cancer of the brain and zebrafish. And then my little one, she petitioned the school board in 9th grade to do 3 years of high school. She just started college in 7th grade, I think. And so she went to University of Puget Sound, and she got her degree in molecular biology, and she's also at the University of Utah as a first-year grad student. I've got 2 older sisters, 2 younger brothers, 17 niece-nephew combination, and 10 niece-nephew combination. Great nieces and nephews, and 1 in the oven. And so a few years went by after I left my spouse, and I asked my girls, how do you meet people? And so the kids were like, go on Match.com. So I did. And anyway, that's how I met Lisa. And so we did a long distance thing for about 1.5 years, and then I finally moved over here. And last Pride, when they decided to let transgender people serve openly in the military, we celebrated by getting married under the flag. And now we have 8 kids between us. So, yeah, loads of fun. Thank you.
Next, we're going to call up to the stage Evelyn Thomas, served in the U.S. Marine Corps and National Guard, veteran, minister, educationary, and equality activist, and openly a lesbian. Evelyn Thomas.
Good morning. Good morning. I am honored to participate in today's Pride celebration. I walked on a military base with my lesbian white wife, arm in arm, showing love and affection. Over 30 years ago, when I served in the Army National Guard with the 949th Company G, Support Battalion of Temple, Texas, and then later in the United States Marine Corps with Weapons Field Training Battalion, a detachment of NCRD at Camp Pendleton, it was illegal to serve in the military as a lesbian. I can remember dancing around my wife's hospital bed on the day marriage equality became legal. 2 years ago, my wife had a cerebral stroke. My wife, a retired NATO representative for the Marine Corps, had to relearn everything we take for granted. How to speak, how to walk, how to hold a fork to put food in your mouth. So, I wish to thank her for agreeing to share a portion of our wedding anniversary here celebrating Pride. We have been married for 9 years and have been a couple for 26 years. We have spent majority of our relationship doing community service work. We volunteered for the United Veterans Council of San Diego. It's a community of all government agencies, community organizations, and political representatives working to end unemployment, homelessness, and inadequate health care. We wanted to ensure LGBT veterans and their families were included in the solutions. We volunteered for the first San Diego Pride Military Contingency Executive Board. The board established bylaws. We volunteered for the California Department of Veterans Affairs work group. It held the first LGBT Veterans Conference, collecting data to address healthcare, housing, homelessness, employment, education, and legal issues of LGBT veterans. We advocated to ensure local community organizations like Courage to Call and the San Diego LGBT Community Center were part of the solution. Through the Sanctuary Project Veterans, we established the San Diego LGBT Veterans Need Assessment Collaborative. Prior to the end of DADT, the Sanctuary Project veterans met with the director of the San Diego Veterans Healthcare System and his team to prepare and become proactive when the repeal happens, because many LGBT veterans will begin to apply for their earned and entitled benefits. The San Diego Veterans Healthcare System marched for the first time in the San Diego Pride Parade because of the advocacy of my wife and I on the behalf of LGBT veterans. We participated in the San Diego Veterans Healthcare System focus group to provide information to healthcare providers on the needs of LGBT veterans and their families. We volunteered with the National Association of Black Veterans to become veteran service officers to help LGBT veterans apply for benefits and compensation. We spoke at the Vista Unified School District Board meeting when they wanted to establish a Kelly Prejean Day, the USA Beauty pageant contestant that opposed marriage equality. We established Camp Giulian, a creative and performance arts camp for kids infected and are affected with HIV and AIDS. We have lobbied politicians in Washington, D.C. for the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the end of military sexual violence, and adequate health care for LGBT veterans. We even trained school administrators, teachers, and staff on how to work with LGBT students, LGBT parents, and LGBT teachers. We both protested at the White House fence for the repeal of DADT, Linda by holding up the Get Equal sign, and me by handcuffing myself to the White House fence twice, and jailed twice for the repeal of DADT. The list goes on and on. Today, I'd rather take the time and read an ode to the LGBT women and men that paved the way for me and sacrificed their careers for the future generation of LGBT members. It's titled, Her Silence Was an Act of Courage. I sat on my bunk with a feeling of disappointment, staring at the white cinder blocks and curious about my new beginning. Within a few months, I had moved from the women's barracks into 1st Marine Division Headquarters Battalion, single housing. I was a new Marine. I reported to Camp Pendleton in May 1987 on Memorial Day weekend. Due to the holiday, I was placed in temporary housing, the women's barracks. For a young lesbian, I was in heaven. I felt like a kid in a candy store, surrounded by all these women, different shapes, different sizes. In my mind, all single, young women with great bodies, with a good chance that many of them were gay. I was placed in a 4-person room, but I was the single occupant. I had a window which looked out into a canyon. It was a calming, beautiful view. There were many days and nights I spent looking out that window for miles as the eye could see. Miles of rolling hills with green and brown bushes, sparsely scattered along the ridges. This window also gave me a great view of the back courtyard of the barracks. Looking out that window became my favorite pastime. At noon every day, this beautiful specimen of a woman would spend an hour suntanning. She had the perfect tan. It was a religious routine. During her lunchtime, instead of eating, she would tan. On this concrete courtyard, surrounded by unkept grass, she laid her white towel on the ground. It was a faithful routine. The white towel in a trifold placed in the crevice of her arm, and it cuddled against the curve of her breast. Noon on the dot, she walked across the courtyard, sashaying across the concrete like it was a runway in a Vogue fashion show. Like clockwork at 12:01, she picked her spot, she walked to the end of the courtyard, removed the white towel from her crevice of her underarm, and grabbed the edge of the towel with both hands, lightly shook the towel up and down 5 times as if she was conducting a symphony, and laid it down softly, as if it magically transformed into a blanket of silk. She laid her body down on the towel, with her hands to her side and her head turned to the right. With her eyes closed but open to the world far away, she melted her cares away. I looked at her and fell in love with the freedom and hope that someday I would find that place, that haven, that safe place where I could be free. Instead, I was sitting on a cold mattress, wrapped in plastic, in a cold room with white cinder block walls, a room with a sense of black doom, death creeping around the door and waited for me to open it. Sadness lingered in the air. A cold, shivering feeling of isolation grasped my body. Goosebumps covered me as I heard metal hitting metal and the key sliding into the lock. She walked through the door. A tall white woman wearing a uniform, but like no other Marine, walked into the room. Her black leather boots were not polished. She could not see her own reflection. Her cami pants were absent of the starch crease lines. She wore her cami top like a blazer of a two-piece suit and cocked her cover to the side like a beret. With a toothpick in her mouth and without skipping a beat, she walked over to her bunk, sat down, and removed her boots. She begins to undress, remove the grunge from the day. She states, "My name is Cooper." I say, "Hi, my name is Thomas, Evelyn Thomas. I work at 16 Area Mess Hall. I'm a baker." "A baker? Well, I'm in motor pool. I work on trucks." Before I knew it, she was out of her uniform and into her regular jeans, leather boots, and a blue flannel t-shirt. Blue flannel shirt with her car keys in her hand. I asked, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to a club, a lesbian club." "How old are you?" "I'm 19. I could feel my heart pounding faster and faster. The beats get louder and louder to the point I could no longer hear Cooper's voice. I just saw her mouth moving with the silhouette words bellowing out. I sensed an electric shock shooting from my body. She said, "Too bad I would take you with me, but you're too young." Without blinking twice, she walked out of the room. It took some time for me to recover from that moment. I was in pure joy, bliss, and ecstasy that my roommate was gay. I had met my first lesbian. She didn't know it yet, but I decided she was my new buddy. I could not sleep. My mind was juiced with adrenaline, sparking from my encounter with a lesbian, a white lesbian. I was curious about her life and what it was like being a white lesbian. I sat up waiting for her to return from her night out. I sat on my bunk, twiddling my thumbs, for 2 hours waiting for her to return. About 10 p.m., I heard her key rattle in the lock. I quickly laid down in my bunk with my eyes closed, waiting for the sound of her body to hit the bed. But my curiosity could not wait. I sat up in my bed and asked her, "What is it like going to a gay club?" She said, "You never been to a gay club?" With a slight shock. "No, I never been to a gay club." "Why don't you come with me next Friday?" I thought you said I was too young." "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I can sneak you in." "Yeah, I'll come with you," Cooper said with calmness in her voice. "You should know, I'm going through a court-martial. I'm being kicked out of the Marine Corps. They found out that I'm gay. I'm being kicked out because I am a lesbian. They will allow me to stay in if I tell them about the other lesbians. After my court-martial, I'm going back home." Cooper, tired from the night out, fell asleep within minutes. Me, I don't remember what time I fell asleep, but I fell asleep thinking about what Cooper said. I'm being kicked out because I am a lesbian. It was Friday, 7 p.m. I can remember Cooper sitting on the edge of the bunk, wearing her regular jeans and red flannel shirt, waiting for me to muster enough courage to walk out of the door and go to the club with her. I couldn't do it. I couldn't move from my bunk. My feet were heavy, weighed down, planted as if in a bed of concrete. My ass was stuck on my mattress like it was sitting in super glue. My arms were pinned to my side like shackles around my ankles and wrists. I don't know how much time went by before Cooper decided to leave without me. But before she left the room, she tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry about it. I understand." And I said, "Thanks, I'm just not ready yet." Cooper said, "Your time will come." For the next 3 weeks, Cooper and I shared a lot, played on the company women's baseball team. Then one sunny fall day, I returned to my room, an empty room. Cooper's bunk stripped clean, her footlocker gone, and her wardrobe closet clean. She was gone. I never saw her again. I wonder how her life turned out. I wonder if she has that safe haven where she can be free. In that one act of silence, she became my hero. Her silence was an act of courage I have never seen in my life again. I never got the opportunity to thank Cooper for what she did for me and the other lesbians of 1st Marine Division. So I thank her today and to all the Coopers of the world.
Thank you, Evelyn. Next, up to the stage, Brigadier General David Brahms, U.S. Marine Corps retired, Senior Judge Advocate General, an ally, supports the equal rights of LGBTQ+A individuals and community. David Brahms.
I recall the voice of my Irish Catholic grandmother, who would take me aside and warn me of the danger of others. Strikingly, you can't trust Italians. And I would look her in the eye. I was about her height at the time, and said, "You're Catholic. Isn't that true?" "What's that got to do with anything?" "Do you go to Mass every Sunday? Isn't that true?" "Why are you asking me these things?" "And you kneel on the Brigadier and mumble your prayers in Latin." "Yes, I'm that old." "And right next to you is an Italian mumbling the very same prayer." Needless to say, that was not well received. Even as a child, much as I loved her, I knew she was wrong. And that lesson as a child informed me throughout my 26-year Marine Corps career. 54 years ago, I was defending people of the sort described by the previous speaker, unsuccessfully, by the way. I was a person to whom gay and lesbians could come and say, "What the hell do I do now? The NCIS is outside my house, and they're peering." And I suggested to that lesbian she get pink motorcycle jackets, which she did, and the NCIS left. I also was a strong, vocal opponent of don't ask, don't tell. You are asking military leadership for all folks who are gay and lesbian to violate core values by living a lie. I was one of the few. 1,200 other flag and general officers stood tall, noting that if don't ask, don't tell ended, the world would end. The services would crumble. They would become ineffective. Nonsense. Because the young people who form the grounding of our services were ready. They simply said, bullshit, got on with it, and the integration of gays and lesbians was accomplished without problem. We now face a new problem, one that I've been very vocal about. And it's a problem that seems to be nationwide, not just in the military. Where do you pee? My response is anywhere you like. One day, the ghosts of our colonial past increased in Cotton Mather, who just knew that any sort of sexual behavior was sinful, although I'm not sure what their sexual behavior was, has been a ghost in our culture. The time has come to say, it's none of your damn business who I sleep with. Let's come and value me because I'm accomplished. It's time to get on with the business of normalizing this community so that we don't talk about who you sleep with, don't have a title other than Marine or sailor or airman or soldier. That's what I've been up to quietly over the past 54 years. I'm honored to be part of this, and I come among other reasons because it's time to have a flag officer floating around in these groups. Let me request to think a happy thought was levied on us earlier. I had a very happy thought. The Admiral's flag on this great day should be rainbow background with 2 stars on that field. That would go a hell of a lot further than lectures and orders and training. It would prompt the kind of discussion which would normalize this community and make soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines without a platform. Thank you, and I'm certainly honored to be here.
Next, we're going to call up to the stage Tracy Elbers, the parent of a transgender son and an ally for the community.
Hello, good morning. My name is Tracy Elbers. I am an ally. I am a mom to an 11-year-old transgender boy, Bryce. I'm so happy to be here today with you. I didn't have anything prepared to talk to you about right now, but I just wanted to say thank you for having me, and I look forward to speaking on the panel with the other panel guests today. Thank you so much.
Next, we're going to call to the stage Jody Taylor, retired women's professional football player, served as Women's Professional Football League's Media Relations Director for 52 teams nationwide. Her public relations and talent management firm is 65 Media. She's an open lesbian. Welcome, Jody Taylor.
Sorry, I don't have anything as impressive to talk about. I'm so lost. My name is Jody Taylor. I do own 65 Media. I am a retired women's pro football player. Played for 10 seasons, which explains that horrible walk that you guys just saw. But I did get a ring, so it was all worth it. My jersey number was 65 for the entire time I played, hence why I called my company 65 Media. I grew up in Fallbrook, which was a military town. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's right next to Camp Pendleton. For a very long time, while I was deciding if I was or was not gay, I was fairly certain I was the only gay person in Fallbrook, until I saw 2 other lesbians, and it was kind of like that Wild Kingdom thing where I was like, I just saw 2 lesbians wandering around the town. So then I felt like I wasn't alone, so it was all good. But I moved to San Diego originally to work in trauma medicine, back before I decided to follow around crazy reality stars and do that kind of stuff. And when I decided to come out, there was a long process of doing that. I really felt that, well, I don't want to be one of those political people. I don't want to, my thought process of how I was raised was, if you're a political lesbian, you wore Birkenstocks and smoked weed and did all these crazy things, and my family was not going to have any of that. But as time went on and a lot of things have happened, I thought that it was very time to be involved, that, for whatever my experience was or that I've come across, that it was time to talk about and who I could help. For coaching, that was kind of my first eye-opening experience of coaching. I volunteer for the NFL flag and finding young athletes that were either male and afraid to, you kind of get the vibe that they were getting, I've had a few of them that had come to me and said, I think I might like boys. And I said, okay, well, I think I might like you to score that touchdown first, and we can talk about that after. To get them to the point to they understand that they are a person and a human being and everything else comes after, and if people don't like them, they're not worth their time anyway. And then talking with the parents of those kids and growing up, and then my most recent experience was at the Pride, when they had the pole shooting last year. I'm very fortunate today to represent the DJ that was in the Orlando nightclub shooting, DJ Infinite. His name is Ray Rivera. And he, believe it or not, as a straight ally, has opened this lesbian's eyes more to how important it is that we do things like this. To get the background and some of the inside stories of what these people went through was horrific, doesn't even sum it all up. But when two of my other clients were singing at the vigil that we had, for those of you that remember that were there, and I remember the bar owners reading the 49 names, and as I'm standing there in my PR mode and waiting for, Alicia and Danielle to get done singing and then listening to the names, and I just kept thinking, these names are not ending. This list is just continuing to go. And then I'll never forget Mogerton, who owns Gossip Girl, sorry, had said Akira Murray 18. And it was like every bit of air was taken out of my lungs, because I thought when I was 18, I was still not even in touch with who I was. And let me rephrase that. I was not courageous enough to be who I was. So here was this girl, 18 years old, out with her friends, courageous enough to be who she was. And she was killed because of it. And it wasn't that she was killed because of who she loved or the people that loved people in same-sex relationships. And that's what I really want to be clear about. She was killed not for how deeply she loved, she was killed because somebody else, how deeply they hated. And that is why I'm here today, and I'm doing the things that I do to step forward. Because at 18 years old, if you can die to be courageous, certainly I can be courageous enough to be up here and speak with these people. So thank you very much for having me.
As you can see, we have an amazing panel of guests today. So we're going to start to ask some questions. So you can kind of, either I'll pick on you or you can raise your hand, whichever one you want to answer. What can we each do to inspire a culture of respect? Anyone want to take that one? All right.
A little bit of it has to do with kind of my PR perspective of that is rebranding. I say this a lot to people, like I don't like the word tolerate. I feel like I tolerate going to the DMV, I tolerate paying taxes, I tolerate Trump's tweets, just kidding. But it's more about respect. And I think the rebranding comes from respecting everybody. And that goes for those of us in the LGBT community, that I have to respect that that person is in their heterosexual relationship, as well as just respecting human beings. And I think rebranding that of not kind of getting rid of the word tolerate is a good step in the right direction.
Amazing. Anyone else? Ellen?
I think it's a culture of, I think we have to look beyond just saying LGBTQ. I think we have to look at the human race and still with the culture of respect. Because one of my past life, I was an educator, high school teacher. And I can't tell you how many times I had children, I witnessed children talking back to their parents, telling them what they wanted, screaming at them. And me coming from a generation where I didn't talk back to my parents, and I didn't even think about even getting the expression of talking back to my parents. And to give you, and it's just, I think it has to go beyond just LGBT. I think we have lost respect as a human race for just the general human beings and everybody else. Because to give you an example, a couple of weeks ago, my wife, she's recovering from a stroke, and we were at a CVS pharmacy, and she can't turn quick to the left or right like anyone else. So she's standing there in the middle aisle trying to slowly move around, and this guy just walks into her and pushes the shopping cart, you know, into her, right? And I walk over, I said to her, I said, did he just push that shopping cart into you? And I had to say to him, I said, she's not standing here just to be mean and trying to do something to prevent you from moving. She had a stroke and she can't walk fast enough and she can't turn fast enough, right? And I had to yell at him to get him to understand that she wasn't doing this intentionally. And she, in his mind, oh, she's just standing there, this old white woman in my way, she won't let me go by, you know? And he pushed the cart, and I had to say to him, you must respect her, right? She's not doing this intentionally. And I had to teach her, and had to teach him in that moment, which made me very upset because he was an older man than me. I'm 49 though. Couple of weeks, I'll be 49 years old, right? And this man, he had to be at least in his 60s or older, right? I think it's about a culture of learning and teaching people how to respect us and respect each other. That's what I think.
May I?
Yes, of course.
My theme is normalization. And the leadership has to reach for events to normalize the community. Let me give you an example. If a gay or lesbian who is married gets some award, you make damn sure that the husband or wife is there, that the kids are there, and this simply becomes part of life here aboard this installation. C. There ought to be events that give young people in particular an opportunity to sit around with leadership and chat about these issues that present. The best way to normalize is to get to know. By sitting next to, by talking, and discovering, aha, they bleed red. Aha, they cry at the same things I cry. They have the same pains that I have. My God, they're just like me. And that is the concept of normalization. And my hope is that those kinds of events are planned and that those kinds of events, much like we see on TV these days, HGTV, for example, has gay and lesbian couples seeking a house. And there it is. It's part of the background. This becomes normal. And my hope is that we strive to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Within the military environment, are there ways to improve unit cohesion by LGBTQ+A coming out in the support of LGBT equality? Anyone? Nicole, want to take that one? Okay. Eli?
I think as an enlisted person, one of the things as an enlisted person, the chiefs in charge of all the E6 and below, the master chiefs of the command, the COs, the XOs, for me it's all about money. So money equates to my evaluation. So if I got a shitty evaluation, I'm not going to move up the food chain. So bottom line is, if we've got the people in our chain of command supporting us, then we're going to feel free to be all we can be, and it's going to help. We're not going to be in a closet, and we're not going to be like, I'm concerned about my evaluations because maybe Joe Blow is a little prejudiced. But if we have the senior people that have come out to us, you know, as a command to say we're behind you, then it just makes a better command all the way around. Why wouldn't you want to use us? And you want us out and proud.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Jody.
I think the media can help a lot, and that kind of goes off what you were saying about normalization. I mean, I remember when I was first coming out, it seemed like they always showed the guy in buttless chaps carrying a Pomeranian, and I was like, God, so all gay guys are like that. And, you know, or the girl with the lumberjack shirt. And I think that it really goes along with normalization of that. And in the military, you know, look what just happened with an NFL player coming out, and he, I don't know if you guys heard the story, but an O-lineman from the Patriots just came out and he had made a comment that the NFL is the perfect place to hide if you're a gay man because no one suspects that you're gay. So I would imagine for anyone in the military, you have that same kind of machismo atmosphere, but along the same lines, you have the same of, you know, pride and courage and honesty and loyalty, and yet you're not even doing that to yourself. So a lot of that, we have to get back to that, pardon my French for saying this, but you can still be a badass and be gay. So I think that we have to do away with the stigma, and really, like you said, normalization is key to this. But the media, if anyone, you know, here's in the media, you know, we have a responsibility as well to show all forms of life and show everybody. I think as unfortunate as the Steve Police shooting was, it is an excellent opportunity right now for the government and the military to use that as a learning curve, because the guy that was against LGBT rights and equality for African Americans, his life was just saved by an African American lesbian. So, if the government doesn't step up right now and use that for a major learning experience, they're missing a big opportunity right now.
Thank you. Many of us don't know where to start as an individual toward the idea of equality. What actions have you taken to open hearts and minds with regard to equality? Tracy?
So I think for me and my family, the biggest thing is we tell everybody we know that we have a transgender son. And it's really about, I am one of the most private people, very introverted, but when it comes to this subject, I talk about it with everyone. And the people that know my son, that's what's actually started, you know, for a lot of those people, they had never met a transgender person before. But they know Bryce, right? And again, they know he's a kid just like their kids. And so that process, we have most of our families in Texas, very conservative. My in-laws were visiting last summer from Texas and came in one night early, and the next morning I said, hey, we're marching in Pride tomorrow morning. Would you like to come with us? And they said, sure. And so my conservative in-laws from Texas marched in Pride last year with us. You know, person by person, really knowing us, knowing our family, knowing my son, that really, you know, kind of helps that process, right?
Thank you. Anyone else? Many of us don't know where to start as an individual toward the idea of equality. What actions have you taken to open hearts and minds with regard to equality?
Well, I think that we must remember what Harvey Milk said, and he said, very simply, come out. If you see the surveys and studies of Americans and their attitudes, probably about 15 years ago, it said 30% of Americans knew someone who was GLBT. Now that is up to 70%. You know, I find it interesting that a lot of people in our community will go, well, everyone should be an activist. Well, I believe that just by coming out and being who you are, be it in your job, be it at church, be it wherever you are, that's an activist, because that is what's changing the world and changing the United States. In my travels, I find in Montana, let's say Idaho and Nebraska, states that I've visited, I think they're in the front lines, because to be openly activists in those states and in those, but what I find is exactly what she said, that when people find out there's a family member, when people find out that their neighbor, and I just admire the general, because it's so simple what he's saying, but so true, and it's just being that when people find out who we are, they find out that we drink coffee the same way, that Many of us are spiritual, and many of us are Jewish and Buddhist and Muslims and so forth. And the most important thing is to be involved in your community. But not all of us. I mean, I'm Latino, I'm involved in the Latino community. And by being involved in the Latino community, it opens up the Latino community. Of course, we're everywhere, and we're every color-wise and every ethnic background. So it's important to just come out. You don't have to carry a sign. You don't have to become an activist, because by being bold and coming out, you are doing your community. And I think our nation a great service by changing its attitude.
Thank you.
I have a footnote to that.
Okay.
You have to be willing to call an ass an ass. If an LGBT community member is an ass, you have to have the courage to say you're an ass. And by virtue of coming to that point, normalization will occur. We'll have the kinds of interactions and discussions necessary.
Thank you. What is the impact of prejudice on you and or your family? Go ahead, Evelyn.
The impact of, you said prejudice? We deal with it on a day-to-day basis because, one, we're in an interracial relationship. June, December, she's 21 years my senior. And we're both, I don't say that we're open, we just live our life. And it just amazes me in 2017 how much prejudice that we have to deal with. Just 2-3 weeks ago, we went on a trip and we were walking back into our accommodations and we had a nice evening, and this tall Caucasian man, about 6 feet tall, came walking up behind us and he goes, "Hi." And he's behind me, so I say hi, don't turn around, it's late in the evening. My goal is just get into the door of the hotel and keep Linda safe, because she can't walk fast. And he says to us, "Are you two lesbians?" And I didn't respond because we knew immediately what was happening. And then we get into the door and he goes, "Why don't you two come up and watch a movie with me?" With me. And so I turned around. Before I could even know it, I said to him, "Sir," I even gave him an amount of respect, "Sir, you are sexually harassing us. You need to stop," right? And that was my warning to him, right? You need to stop, because not only was he being very aggressive, he had invaded our personal space. He was this close to me. And he turns around and says, "Oh, I'm just trying to be nice." And I said, "No, sir, you're not being nice. You are sexually harassing us." And that night, we went to our room, and I couldn't sleep because I was shaken and disturbed by that experience in 2017. And here we're trying to have a nice time. And I think any time that you're dealing with any form of hate or discrimination or prejudice, you have to address it right then and there. You have to, even if it's an uncomfortable situation. And sometimes you may not be able to take action because your life may be in a threatened situation. Your best bet is just to get away from the situation and learn from that experience. But I say anytime that you can address it, because if you don't address it, it will continue. I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you. Go ahead, Jody.
For me personally, I feel that I've been pretty blessed, or I don't want to say lucky because I don't think it's a lucky thing that I haven't really faced too much personal discrimination, but my clients, because I work in the entertainment industry, are faced all the time with, what is the time to come out? Is there a good time to come out? And, you know, I think for each person, whether you're, you know, on TV or you're in the military or you play pro sport or you're just, you know, a stay-at-home mom or dad, it's all within your own time to come out and what works for you. But you're, you know, I know I've had people say before, you know, like, oh, Diger, you know, and I laugh because that's just my nature. I'm like, ooh, you're bright. So it doesn't, you know, I come from also, it was funny because I'll tell you a story. I just watched an old, not an episode, an old remake of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So for those of you in the 80s, remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And so as I'm watching it and I'm doing some of the things working and I hear Sean Penn go, dude, you're a total fag. I was like, oh my God, that would not fly today. But even my girlfriend who I've been with for 20 years, her mother is very old school, and she even makes comments that I don't think that she understands. So we've had to educate her because she's older. And she had a couple of clients that were two guys that got married. She was invited to the wedding. And so we had said, where are you going Saturday? And she goes, oh, I'm going to the fag wedding. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't say that. So it's really, I think, sometimes it's innocent, so to speak, and educating them because she really doesn't mean she loves them to death. But she goes, that's what I just thought it was called. It's like, no, it's totally not what it's called. So it's just, you know, to some degree, it's a lot of how we were all raised. And listen, I'll be honest, as a gay person, I mean, Ann and I say it all the time, joking around, and I realize that's not cool to say, and I think, what do other people, if they're listening, what are they? So, you know, it's being responsible, and I agree, calling someone out when they do that, but it's also, to some degree, a little bit, is understand that maybe not everybody is out to get us. And, you know, one thing I really did learn watching the whole Caitlyn Jenner process is that everybody has a process, and their timeline isn't on my timeline. And if I make, so to speak, somebody accept me or tolerate me, that's not giving them time to go, hey, that was my, you know, when I very first came out, one of my best friends was getting married, and I was one of the maid of honor, which was funny. I didn't want to wear the fuchsia chiffon anyway. So I probably came out just so I didn't have to wear that. I'm just kidding. But it was funny because I was disappearing a lot and I wasn't being honest with who I was. And I lived in Faldersville at the time, so I was making these little escape trips to the Flame in San Diego. Well, meanwhile, they all thought I was using drugs, so they had an intervention because they thought I was a drug addict. And they all were like, we're just really worried, we think you're using drugs. And I'm like, no, I'm just gay. So it was kind of comical in a way, but then they were all kind of like, you know, they were like me, they didn't know gay people, so they were like, so now what do we do? I'm like, nothing, we're just gonna, you know, continue on. And so then they were like, how do you know? I was like, I don't know, I had a dream about Donna Martin from 90210, and I was freaked out. And I mean, the whole thing was just, you know, so it was kind of like this whole wonderful thing for all of us. Who I faced more of it from was when they went on and got married, and one of them, the boyfriend who became the husband, we all met together. And so he went through a process of, because we were all kind of crazy when we were young, well, we didn't know if, you know, you guys were going to go out and, you know, be with other guys, and I'm like, but you know, I'm gay. He goes, well, I know, but now does that mean you want my wife? It's like, so it's, again, it's a stigma that, you know, we want everybody, you know? It's like, no, it's just all your straight women calls when they're drunk dying and they're mad at you guys. But that's another Oprah hour. So I agree, it's calling people out, but understanding that, you know, if they know you and they love you, understand they might just be going through, at least it was my experience, they might be going through a process. But absolutely the most important thing I can share is set a boundary. Set your boundary of what you're comfortable with and what you're talking about of them, and allow them to learn. And understand that prejudice does happen within our own community. I see it a lot. I mean, and a lot of that is education. I mean, I will be the first to admit I did not know a lot about transgender community. And I remember a few years ago hearing this story on the radio about this little boy and his parents were letting him come out, and I was like, that is so bizarre. Like, how would, you know, and here I am, a gay woman. And that little boy ended up being Ryland Whittington, and I became friends with his mother and got to know them and met this beautiful little boy. And, you know, it just, again, it's each person's process, and it comes back to just being respectful.
Thank you.
If you could do one thing that would change the way people perceive the LGBTQ community, what would it be?
Could we get back, could we get back to the last question
Sure.
for a minute? I think you need to talk about the idiosyncratic impact of prejudice. I was conceived out of wedlock in 1937. A handsome Jewish man met a lovely Irish Catholic woman, and God knows the process, none of my business. And throughout my life, I was told, fit in. Don't talk about who you are. We never talk about who we are. Whatever the external impact of that, the impact was on me. I'm unsure. I'm not perhaps as worthy as I could be. I'm ashamed. These are painful, internal thought processes that need to be dealt with. And you need to have a mentor. You need to have somebody who will put an arm around you, whether it's a parent, co-worker, friend, who said, you're okay. You really are special. And that can get you past these internal, painful processes that come about as a result of being different.
Thank you. Every sketch, I had a player tell me once, Coach, imagine if we just got to start over and we were in charge. Nobody would hate anybody. And it really made me think, like really, if you could etch a sketch and get, if we started today, and what the little kids, what they know today, we'd be a great world to live in. Because when we grew up, there was all this judgment. But the kids that are growing up today, so, and listen, whether it's Trump or anybody, Trump as a kindergartner probably was not a bad guy. Or anybody that you've run across that was a hateful person. Hate and intolerance is taught. They're not born with that. So along with the LGBT community, anyone that's a parent, I feel, has the greatest responsibility, because you're raising what is going to be accepting of anyone LGBT or anything tomorrow.
Just one more statement. I think as elders, this is my personal belief, as elders of the LGBT community, adults of the LGBT community, and our allies, adult allies, I think we have to take some responsibility. And I think we have to make it safe for the children of the LGBT community, because we have too many LGBT children committing suicide because of bullying, because of hate, because of discrimination. And I agree with you. I think we should have mentors for our LGBT children to let them know it does get better, all right? And if they have someone to help them through this challenge and help them to the point where they can create their own foundation of strength, I think we should do it. And I think it's too much to say that it's someone else's responsibility. If we want our children, our leaders of the LGBT community to take our place and make this world a better place, then we have to step up and do something about it. I'm sorry, we do have a responsibility.
I think that we all have a great responsibility to vote and register. Today we've talked about education, we've talked about different issues, but the reality is politics, and it does control a lot of the situation. When you think about the last election, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but everyone was convinced a certain candidate was going to win, And when that candidate didn't win, I will never forget the demonstrations. And in Portland, they arrested about, I think it was 400 people. And did you know that, and they were up there protesting the election of Donald Trump. Half of them had not even registered to vote. So we have to come out of the closets and into the voting booth, because that is what's going to change. Because once our leadership and the government, be it local, national stuff, when we, in San Diego, I got to tell you, and I'm not a Republican, we have the best Republicans in this city, wise, because they are very supportive of equality. But if a lot of people go, well, how can you be gay and Republican? How can you support the Republican Party? The truth is, if we don't get involved in the Republican Party, and if we're not involved in both parties, then America's not going to change. We have to, at least, I'm not saying going out and become politically active, just vote. The low turnout of votes of the people who voted for Obama, who did not vote in this election, is amazing. So I would urge all of you to go out and vote and get everyone else to vote in 2018. I believe that election will be one of the most important if our country is going to move forward or we're going to continue to go backwards.
What can we do to serve our community, our nation, and our society?
I think just being involved. I mean, don't be afraid. I remember I used to look at, everyone from the mailman on up as, this like far-reach thing to be, but I think that, I met and worked with Donna Fry, and the first time I remember going in her office for a meeting, she flipped off her sandals, sat Indian style on a couch, and I mean, I thought for a minute she was gonna like spark up a bomb. I was like, oh my God. But she was so laid back, but so educated, and it really, so don't ever be afraid or feel that you're not good enough or anything to be involved, whether that be politics, because I agree that is so, so important for us moving forward, for everybody. And when I say us, I mean the U.S. And just, be forefront, be who you are, and leave your door open. I think it's very important, like you had mentioned before, protecting our kids. I mean, think about this. If we're adults, and anyone that's in the military right now contemplating coming out, or if you know somebody, and they're afraid as an adult, imagine what it must feel like today to be a kid with the prevalence of social media, what it is. We have kids committing suicide just for what they're dealing with on Facebook and Twitter. So that, as somebody that does social media with clients, also is such an important element of what we do moving forward. That's
Thank you.
I think we need to also support, which can't be a one-issue community. Obviously, the environment affects us. Obviously, Planned Parenthood. I mean, it just does not offer abortions. It's unbelievable the work that Planned Parenthood does for women, and women who don't have that much money. We have to support things like equal pay for women and other issues just than GLBT civil rights. Our treatment of our veterans, our treatment of seniors is unbelievable. I mean, we have actually millions of children who go to bed every night that are hungry. I mean, we've got to change, we can change things and get involved in other issues just than our own civil rights. Extend our hand and build bridges to the people of color communities. While not everyone understands Black Lives Matters, the truth is, we know racism exists. And we know that, and we should, that discrimination against one community is discrimination against all of us. We need to know more about the struggles of the immigration community, because they are part of our community too. And most importantly, we need to know what's going on around the world. No matter how bad we think America is, and some people do, I hate to say it, go to Russia, go to the Middle East, and then you will find out how really bad it is for gay men, women, and trans, and they can't even immigrate to our country. So there's different issues that we need to get involved with than just our own civil rights struggle.
Thank you so much. We know that the members of this panel have committed their time and resources to the larger San Diego community. Please share some of your aspects on the community activism or volunteerism. Kind of keep it short as we're limited on time.
I'm honored to say that I'm one of the original executive board members for the Bill Dillingham III and Bridget Wilson LGBT Veterans Wall of Honor, established by a lovely Nicole. And another thing that I participate in every year since it's been established is I march in the military contingent at the San Diego Pride Parade because I think it's, like you said, we have to be visible. And I think the more people that we have out there marching in parades, whether you're marching in shorts and a t-shirt or whether you get permission from your command to march in your uniform, the more visible, the more normalized that we become.
Well, again, we thank you so much for being here on this panel. It's been absolutely amazing. Again, it's always an honor when I get to come spend today at Pride on Base. If people would have kept telling me to stop, I would never be doing what I'm doing and I wouldn't be standing here right now. So I'm thankful for that. So again, thank you so much for having us. Thank you to the selected panel. You've been amazing. Thank you for joining us. We'll bring you back to Ms. Nicole.
As an openly bisexual part of the queer community, I'm also genderqueer. I have always been androgynous. Anybody who knows me knows that. And I want to say to all of you, thank you so much for being here and for doing this. We also want to honor today the passing of the person who actually created the pride flag, Gilbert Baker. And his inspiration for the pride flag was looking up in the sky and seeing the rainbow. And for me, that is just so inspiring. In addition, we would like to also remember the Pulse nightclub incident that happened a year ago, where 49 people were murdered and 58 were injured in addition to that for a terrorist act. And what I want to say to you is, the root of that act and of any kind of act of or incident of hate is fear. So when people suffer from prejudiced thoughts, it's an illogical fear about a group. And that can actually devolve into anger and hate and violence. And sometimes it is about oneself. In the case of what happened at Pulse in Orlando, this young man suffered from what we call internalized homophobia. He hated the fact that he loved men. He even married a woman so that he could hide it. But in the end, he ended up killing many of his own kind. People are not born prejudiced. We are all taught these things. We are taught these things from everywhere you can imagine. We are taught them from our families, our friends, our neighbors, our schools, our religions, corporations, and the media. And the problem is, when we have this illogical fear and we push it, we cause a fear on the side of the folks in those groups that are victimized. And when you have fear from both ends, from those that feel threatened and hate the group, and from those that are actually really threatened, there is a lack of a bridge. We need to build bridges. It's very hard to teach love and trust, but it's simple to teach fear. As an example, the Department of Defense's very first artificial intelligence experiment was coined the paranoid Pac-Man. And what happened was, there was a Pac-Man game where the Pac-Man was made an intelligent object and was taught that when you eat the cookies, they're yummy, they're good. Then what was put into the mix was a cookie that shocked the Pac-Man. And so Pac-Man grabbed a cookie and got shocked. And then whenever any of the other cookies came, and it did not matter whether it was a good cookie or a shocked cookie, Pac-Man ran from the cookies. So it's very easy where we can even teach an object in software programming, fear, but teaching love and trust, that takes a lot more work and a lot more effort. And so I ask each and every one of you, whether you're LGBTQ and or an ally, please show your love, put yourself out there, and let people know they're safe when they talk to you. It's that safety that gives us all the strength we need. And so right now, we have two things outside. We have awesome Pride cupcakes, and we have really marvelous artwork. And we would like to share all of it with all of you, because Pride celebrations is not just about being LGBT, but it's sharing our love of food and our love of art and humanities. So please step with us outside and enjoy the cupcakes and the art. Thank you.